What's good, everybody? NicMakesPlays here. Today, I'm going to go over my updated Shaddoll deck. I've made great strides with this deck since I first started learning it and made my original video. I've hit Plat 1 and Master Duel every season with it, which is the highest rank in the game. And I've also won tons of in-person tournaments with the deck as well. So I've learned a lot, and I want to go over what I think is the current best version, or my updated version after everything I've learned. Also, I will briefly go over the cards because it is an updated video. But without further ado, let's get to the first card. And make sure, if you guys like Shaddolls, you like Dogmatika, you like Invoked, make sure you like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Having daily videos come out here, so hope you guys enjoy them. But here we go. First card is the Effect Veiler. This card has three purposes in this deck. The main one is just during your opponent's main phase, you can send this card from the hand to the graveyard. Target an effect monster they control negates effects. This is very important to have interaction with your opponent's first turn. We all know in Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks can kind of like wombo combo off sometimes turn one. So having these hand traps to interact on your opponent's first turn is very good. It's also good when you have a board as well, so that's fine. Its other role is it's a light. So it being a light can be used as fusion material with the Shaddoll for your Shaddoll construct. And then its third role, also being a light, is you can discard it. And then with Alistair, you can banish it from graveyard with Invocation to summon Makaba. So pretty good. Next is Maxi. Doesn't really need much introduction. It's the best card in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel by far. Yeah, when your opponent special summons, you draw a card. Very good. Stopping combos, or to just... It's really good when you have a board, because if they special summon, try and break your board, you just draw a card. So yeah, doesn't need much introduction. It's the best card in the game. Next we have Shaddoll Hedgehog. Alright, so this one's interesting. I wasn't sure if I wanted this in deck, but I ended up going with it. So it has a decent flip effect. If it's flipped, then you get to search a Shaddoll spell and trap. That's nice. The main effect you're going to be using is if it's sent to the graveyard via card effect, which includes fusing, then you get to search a Shaddoll monster. So the reason I have this is you run 3 Pot of Prosperity, and this card says if you use it this turn, you can't draw any cards. So if you want to get a +1 in card advantage, or you basically just need a Shaddoll effect to use on the same turn you use Prosperity, you have to use Hedgehog. You can't draw Shaddoll Beast when you use Prosperity. You can send Shaddoll Hedgehog to the graveyard to search a Shaddoll, just discard fodder for Makaba, or more just more fusion materials for the fusing with the Shaddoll. So just mostly used for the turns you have Prosperity, you need to search a Shaddoll, or want to get a Shaddoll effect. Next, Ash Blossom Joy Spring. Another one of the best hand traps in the game, mostly played in 3 and almost every deck in the game. So you can discard this card from your hand to negate a card that does this effect. It adds a card from deck to hand, special summons from the deck, or send a card from deck to graveyard. Pretty much every deck in the whole game has plenty of cards to do these things, so you just have Ash Blossom. Tons of interaction in your opponent's first turn, and in general, when you have a board, it's good too. So yeah, Ash Blossom generically good. Next, we have Shaddoll Wendy. When Shaddoll Wendy's flip face up, it sets a Shaddoll monster from your deck. Also, when set to graveyard by card effect, it sets a Shaddoll monster from your deck. You mostly be setting Shaddoll Beast. This is the best one. Flip someone, draw 2 cards, discard 1. If you already use Shaddoll Beast, then you can just set Shaddoll Hedgehog. Another perk of this is it's a wind. So to summon an Shaddoll App Cologne, it needs to be 2 Shaddoll monsters with different attributes. So having the wind here is nice, making it easier to summon the App Cologne. So Wendy's mostly used as if you've already used Shaddoll Beast, or just really good turn 1 setup if you fuse with the Wendy, because getting a Shaddoll Beast set turn 1 backed up by, like, say, Makaba or Winda gives you amazing follow-up, and you can just like flip Shaddoll Beast and just steamroll the game from there. Next we have Alistair the Invoker. He brings the whole deck together. He is so good. So what he does when he's normal summoned is he adds Invocation to your hand. You can use Invocation to summon Invoke Makaba or Guadius, and then Invocation's effect adds him back to your hand. So every turn you have to summon him, search a fusion spell, and fuse for Invoked monster. You can also use the Invocation fusion spell if you fuse from your hand for Shaddoll construct or a Shaddoll monster. So that's one of the main things he does, is he summons the Invokes. Now, the other thing he does is you can link summon him away into All Mirage, and then link All Mirage into Secure Garna, giving you Secure Garna, which is a light. You can use this light with Shaddoll fusion, and your Shaddoll is fused for Shaddoll construct. So he gives you a Makaba and the light fusion material for Shaddoll construct. Also, by doing this link climbing to Secure Gardener, you put All Mirage in grave, which allows you to summon Dogmatika Maximus, which needs to banish a fusion, synchro, XC, or link monster from grave to summon him. So he brings the whole deck together, being a 1-card reoccurring fusion spell. He lets you get lights for Shaddoll construct fusions with the Shaddolls, and he puts Dogmatika Maximus online. We'll get to all these combos, of course, during the games, and also when I explain the other cards, so let's keep going. Next we have Shaddoll Aerial. You don't really want to draw this card, but it is really, really powerful effect, especially in current Yu-Gi-Oh! So if it's sent to the graveyard by card effect, which is like with fusing, or with the Shaddoll construct, you can target the 3 cards in the graveyard and banish them. So what you can do is just clear someone's board, and then in Yu-Gi-Oh! Nowadays, tons of decks have graveyard resources where it's like, oh, banish this card next turn to like search a card, whatever. You just kill their board, banish their grave, they're out of resources, and you win the game. Next we have Dogmatika Ecclesia. This is the main Dogmatika card of the deck. Insert your whole Dogmatika engine. So as a bonus effect, can't destroy a battle with a monster or a special in the extra deck, so that's a bonus effect. The main thing it does is it searches any Dogmatika card in your deck, and you can't use your extra deck the rest of the turn. So you want to use this as your last action, because it shuts off your extra deck. But what it can do is you can search Maximus, and then Maximus sends monsters from your extra deck to the graveyard. When Apple sent to the graveyard, it searches a Shaddoll card, so that it gives you access to your Shaddoll cards, especially Shaddoll Schism, which is the best Shaddoll card, or like the best card in the whole deck. It can give you access to Flordelis, which negates monster effects and is a huge beater. And it can also give you access to Dogmatika Punishment, which can destroy a card on the field and discard a card from your extra deck. So it gives you a pretty good toolbox of destruction, monster negate, and searching your Shaddoll cards. So next is Shaddoll Beast, pretty straightforward. If you fuse with it or send it to the graveyard with El Shaddoll Construct, you draw one card, very nice to refuel. Especially if you like combo off with it and then you just do the draw and draw into a hand trap, it gives you some good backup. So you can set off Wendy, just a generically good Shaddoll monster. Next is Dogmatika Flordelis. So during the main phase, if a monster special from the extra deck is on the field, you can special this card from your hand. Then if you have a Dogmatika monster, negate the effects of one face-up monster in the field. Alright, so it special summons itself, and it's huge, right? 2500, 2500. And if you have a Dogmatika monster in the field, which you will, you negate a monster. So this doesn't target. This does not target a card. So cards that say like, oh, this can't be targeted, whatever, it gets around those cards. It also can push for like huge damage. A lot of times you can go Ecclesia, search Flordelis, and just attack, and it does insane damage. So when it attacks, it makes all Dogmatika monsters you control gain 500 attack. So an easy OTK you can do is you play Alistair, summon Alistair, make Makaba, use Invocation's effect, add Alistair back to your hand, special summon Ecclesia, special summon Flordelis, attack with everything, and then discard Alistair from your hand. Alistair has a bonus effect. You can discard it to target a fusion, make it down 1000 attack. And so basically, Alistair plus Ecclesia plus Flordelis is 8500 damage. So if your opponent ever has like an open board, this is how you can easily kill people off 2 cards. So yeah, Flordelis, good at, usually search off Titaniclad to negate a monster effect on their turn, but also a good way to go per game. Alright, so next, Dogmatika Maximus. You can banish one fusion, synchro, XYZ, or link monster from your graveyard, especially from your hand. So what you do is you go Alistair, link Almirage, like Secure Gardener. This is why we went Almirage, by the way. Just to get a link in grave. The whole point of Almirage into Secure Gardener is just to get this Almirage in graveyard, so you can summon Maximus. And then when Maximus is played, you can use this effect, and this effect is insane. Once per turn, during your main phase, you can send 2 monsters from your extra deck to the graveyard. So in this deck, you have a lot of graveyard effects. If this is sent to the graveyard, then you can add a Shaddoll card from your deck to your hand, and then discard it. So you can just add like Beast, discard, draw a card, add Wendy, discard it, add this, discard it, banish a card, or you can add Shaddoll Schism, which is what you're going to do most of the time, and just discard whatever, and you have access to now to Shaddoll Schism. Best card in your deck. Basically just search a Shaddoll Schism. This card, when sent to the graveyard, destroys a card. Titaniclad, the end phase of the turn, sent to the graveyard, it searches the Dogmatika. So turn 1, a common play is summon Alistair, link whatever, into Almirage, Secure Gardener, Invocation, make Makaba, special summon Ecclesia, summon Maximus, Maximus effect, and then you dump Apclone and Titaniclad, search Schism, discard whatever, and then at the end phase you search Flordelis. So you end with just 2 cards, just Ecclesia, Alistair gives you Makaba, Ecclesia, Maximus, Schism, and you search Flordelis to negate a monster effect on their turn. So yeah, very good synergy between the Shaddolls, the Dogmatika, and the Invoked. You kind of use all of them, but this giving your toolbox of sending monster extra at the graveyard is also what really brings it together. So 1 Terraforming, search Magical Meltdown. Next we have Shaddoll Fusion, absolutely amazing. So fusion summon 1 Shaddoll monster from your extra deck, using monsters in your hand or field of fusion material. You can fuse for Winda, so they can only special summon once per turn. You can fusion summon for Construct, send Schism to the graveyard. Link off the Construct for Gravity Controller, search Schism, and then on their turn make Winda. So either way, going first, Shaddoll Fusion will give you access to Winda to shut down your opponent's turn. If going second, it also has a bonus effect. If your opponent chose a monster special from the extra deck, which they pretty much always do if you're going second, you can also fuse from your deck, which is an insane card advantage. Not use any cards from your hand, just like send Shaddoll Beast from your deck, draw a card for free, whatever, and then you can summon your Construct, try and break their board. So very, very strong going second at breaking boards because people commonly have extra deck monsters in the field when you're going second. Also, Magical Meltdown says that fusion spells or things that would summon a fusion monster can't be negated. So a lot of time you can go like Magical Meltdown into Shaddoll Fusion going second, and they can't negate your Shaddoll Fusion. Very good. So great going first to make Winda. Great going second to break boards and get free card advantage. Next we have Invocation. So Alistair searches this. You can summon a fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand as fusion material. But if you're summoning an Invoke Fusion this way, you can also banish monsters from your field or either player's graveyard. So very good. Basically, you just summon Alistair, search this. You link Alistair, All Mirage, then Secure Gardener, banish the Alistair in graveyard and the Secure Gardener in the field for Makaba. Then its other effect is if Alistair is banished, you can target Alistair, put him back to your hand, and then shuffle this card in the deck. So basically every turn it's just summon Alistair, Invocation, make a fusion, put Alistair back to your hand. And you just keep doing it, and you just get a one-card engine of fusing every turn. It's also nice to banish opponent's cards from the graveyard, such as like the Golden Lord to make Makaba and get rid of their Golden Lord. So yeah, it's recurring value, good fusion spell. Next to the Deer Servant, one of the best cards in the deck, but it's a 1-of course, because it's so good. So summon a monster from extra deck to the graveyard, and then add a Dogmatika monster to your hand that has the same attack or less. You cannot use your extra deck for the rest of the turn. So again, make sure you use this card as one of the last cards in the turn to shuts off your extra deck. But basically what you do is you activate this, add Equation to your hand, and then you can dump Abcalone, and then Abcalone can search Shaddoll Schism, which is pretty much the best card of the deck. So these Dogmatika cards all search Schism, or a lot of them search Schism, which is insane. This card is amazing. We'll get to it later. It's also a good toolbox because the Deer Servant can send Entis, and Entis when sent to the graveyard destroys a card. You can add Shaddoll Beast to your hand, discard it, whatever, draw a card. But it's just a generic +1 where you're able to not only get a Dogmatika card, but also get a Shaddoll effect, which is just really good value for one card. Next we have Pot of Prosperity. I run 3. I cannot believe I wasn't running this card before. It adds so much consistency to this deck. So one issue with fusion decks is they need 3 cards to work. You need the fusion spell, you need 2 fusion materials. So let's say like in this deck instance, it would be fusion spell, a Light in the Dark for El Shaddoll Construct, right? So this card just searches whatever you need. Say you're missing a Shaddoll monster to fuse with, you just play Pot of Prosperity, add one to your hand, and you're good to go. Also helps you see Alistair more, and just kind of make your deck more consistent. You can also get power cards to your Servant more often, and just do all kinds of crazy stuff. So this card says banish 3 or 6 cards of your choice from the extra deck face down. For the rest of the turn, after this card resolves, any damage your opponent takes is halved, and then you can't draw for the rest of the turn. So doing it turn 1 doesn't really matter. The damage is halved because you're not attacking. You can't draw for the rest of the turn, so keep that in mind. But the common question I'm probably going to have is, what do you banish face down? So you're only banishing 3 cards. This deck cannot get away with banishing 6 unless, like, you're literally going to lose if you don't hit something. And it's, like, life or death, like Last Resort, you can do 6. But mostly going to be doing 3. So you can get rid of 1 Abcalone, that's fine. If you're not going to do the Gravity Controller, play the Construct to search Shaddoll Schism, then you can get rid of the Gravity Controller. Get rid of 1 Construct's fine. Get rid of 1 Makaba, so you have run 2. So there are a few things you can get rid of. Of course, you want to have all the cards in extra deck, but it's not a big deal if you don't. You can also get rid of Buriana Conde. Sometimes going first if you don't think you'll need it. So yeah, those are the main cards I get rid of Pot of Prosperity. Alright, next is Magical Meltdown. This card is so good in this deck. So when this card is activated, add 1 Alistair to your hand. So it just searches Alistair. Then, the activation of your cards and effects that include the effect of fusion summoning a fusion monster can't be negated, and your opponent's cards and effects cannot be activated when you summon a fusion monster. So yeah, mostly just searching Alistair, but they can't negate Shaddoll Fusion, they can't negate the Shaddoll Schism. Just very good at making it harder for your opponent to do their effect to stop things. And nowadays in Yu-Gi-Oh! All kinds of monsters say like, negate a spell or trap on your opponent's turn or something, and this just makes it so they can't stop your fusion. Next is 2 Call by the Grave. So target monster your opponent's graveyard, banish it. You do until the end of the next turn. Its effects are negated as well as activated effects and effects on the field of monster's same original name. Called by the Grave is mostly used to stop hand traps. Let's say you're going first and you Shaddoll Fusion, your opponent chains Maxi, discarding it to the graveyard as cost. You just play Call by the Grave, target their Maxi, and it negates Maxi's effect. This works on Effect Veiler, Maxi, Ash Blossom. So basically when you're trying to go first, do your combo. If they try and hand trap you, you just call by their hand trap and then you negate it. It can also just be a bonus to banish cards from the grave, such as like the Golden Lord and stuff like that against Eldritch, so very good. Next, 3 infinite impermanents. Target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls and gets effect. Then if this card was set before activation, it's on the field as resolution. Then negate any spell and trap card in the same column. If you control no cards, you can use them in your hand. So basically, this is just like an extra effect veiler. If your opponent's going first, you can discard it from your hand. Just target a face-up monster and it gets effects. Also, if it's set, it's in the same column as a spell and trap they use, you can flip it and negate that spell and trap. That's a bonus effect. Most people don't play into that, but it's essentially just an extra effect veiler that sometimes has bonuses. So the one big difference between this and Effect Veiler is Effect Veiler can only be used during your opponent's main phase. This can be used during your own turn. So one thing you could do is a lot of cards say like, on your opponent's turn, negate a spell or trap or monster effect, right? You can just discard the infinite permanents from your hand on your turn, negate that effect, and you're free to go and do whatever you want that turn, and they can't just interrupt you with their negations. So next we have Dogmatika Punishment. This is a one-of. It's searchable off Ecclesia. Target one face-up monster your opponent controls. Send one monster equal to or higher attack and extra graveyard. You destroy that monster until the end of the next turn, so not just this turn, the next turn. After this resolves, you cannot special monster extra deck. So the drawback's pretty big, because you can't use extra deck monsters your next turn. So make sure you use this wisely. But it's very powerful effect, because what you can do is, just, A, you destroy one of their cards. But B, you can send Clone to the graveyard, search the Shaddoll, gets effect off, whatever. You can send Intis, which when sent to the graveyard, you destroys a card. So it lets you say, flip, destroy 2 cards in the field. You destroy one of their monsters in the back row, destroy 2 monsters. It's too powerful to ignore, and it helps protect your board. So you can search off Ecclesia if you want to have a good trap. But yeah, be wary of the bonus effect of not being able to special next turn. Next we have Shaddoll Schism, the absolute best card in the deck. This is the reason Shadolls are even still viable to this day. This card is absolutely broken. Like, I can't even explain how broken this card is. Like, I'm gonna try my best to. I'll try, but it's very broken. Let's just get into what this card does. So during the main phase, you can fusion summon a Shaddoll monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion material monsters listed on it from the field to the graveyard, but cannot attack directly. Then, you can send to the graveyard one monster your opponent controls with the same attribute as a fusion summon monster. Alright, so first off, it's trap, right? So you can use it on your opponent's turn. You can fuse during their turn. It's also continuous, trap, so it doesn't go away. It just keeps happening. So their turn you fuse, your turn you fuse, their turn you fuse, your turn you fuse. You just keep getting fusion monsters over and over and over again, but from your graveyard. Materials are from the graveyard, I guess, or the field is an option, but mostly from your graveyard. So you're not even like really using resources to do this. You're just getting free fusion monsters every turn, and you get to send their cards from the field to the graveyard. It doesn't destroy, it sends. So cards that can't get destroyed, you can still send. It also doesn't target, so cards that can't be targeted, you can still get rid of. Just like continuously sending cards from the field to the graveyard. The best thing you can do with this is you're going to set turn 1. There's a lot of ways to search this turn 1. I'll get into the combos when we get to the extra deck. But on turn 1, you want to, when their turn starts, or when they use a card that special summons, you chain Schism, and you summon Winda. Each player can only special summon once per turn. So basically, you just play this. They can only special once per turn. They end their turn, you just kill them. It just ruins their entire turn. He also can be destroyed by card effects, so he's very hard to deal with. Another big perk is, since it's a trap, you can use it in response to things. So let's say they use like, I don't know, like Monster Reborn or something. If you chain this and play Winda, it's face up, seeing the card that's special summoning, so they can't special summon the rest of the turn. So if you use it in response to a card that's special summon, that's their one special summon, they're done. They can't special the rest of the turn, they pass, you just kill them. Also, one important interaction, let's say you're playing versus like the Golden Lord deck, like the Eldritch deck, you can use Schism, make Construct. Since Construct's a light, you send their Golden Lord to the graveyard, then Construct's effect will send Ariel to the graveyard. Ariel banishes 3 of their cards, you can just banish their Golden Lord from the graveyard, banish all their Golden Lord spell and trap cards. Very good. So it's just like a continuous free special summons that gets rid of cards on their field on both players' turns every turn. It's absolutely insane just how good this card is. Winda, a lot of time, enough is just able to win the game, but I guess this is a good transition to the extra deck portion. Let's go to the extra deck. First card, you can actually summon this card, so don't worry at the beginning. It's only used for its very last portion. This card is sent to the graveyard, target one card in the field, destroy it. All the Dogmatika cards, or most Dogmatika cards, are sent to the graveyard. It's any card in the field, so it's back rows or it's monsters, so it's very good just clearing, you know, any monster or problematic back row. You can kill like skill drain, stuff like that. You can kill big monsters, so very good. Next is Winda. Debatably the best in the whole extra deck, just one of your main Shaddoll cards. So let's just read how good this card is. Must first be fusion summoned, that's what we do with it. Cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effect. So that is very important because of how good its effect is. Its effect says each player can only special summon monsters once per turn while this card's facing the field. So you summon this card on their turn with Schism. It says they can only special summon once, and it can't be destroyed by card effects. So they just like special summon, and then they can't do anything, and then they just lose, like they pass, and you just kill them. Very, very insane. Also, when it's destroyed, or when it's sent to the graveyard, you can target a Shaddoll spell and trap card in your graveyard out of your hand. This is very good at just getting Shaddoll Fusion back, or you can Schism back if they kill it. But Winda's an auto win against a lot of special heavy decks. In current Yu-Gi-Oh, most decks are special heavy, so again, you just Schism, play Winda, and you win the game. Next is El Shaddoll Cologne. This is the main card you're going to send to the graveyard with the Dogmatika cards. So when sent to the graveyard, you can add a Shaddoll card from your deck to your hand, then discard a card. Most of the time, you're going to search Shaddoll Schism, and then just discard like whatever else in your hand, just to search Shaddoll Schism if it's that good. Or you can like use your Shaddoll effects. You can just add Hedgehog to your hand and then discard it. Search your Shaddoll. Same for all those Shaddolls, like add Shaddoll Beast to your hand, discard it, you draw a card. That's very good. But if you actually want to summon it to the field, you can summon it Schism, Shaddoll Fusion, whatever. It's pretty good. It can't die by battle, so that's nice. Nice little bonus. But if this card is special summon, you can target one face-up card in the field and negates effects. The reason this is so good is it can target back rows. So this can hit like spell and trap cards, like field spells, stuff like that. And it's also a permanent negate. So even if they clear this card, then you still have the negation. It's just a permanent negate on any card that's face up. And if it's sent to the graveyard, then it gets effect. So it's, again, main card you send to the graveyard via Dogmatika cards, and also can negate cards on the field and can be short of battle. Next is Shaddoll Construct. This is like your board breaker. It's your offensive Shaddoll monster. But it's supposed to be Fusion Summon. This card is special summon. You can send one Shaddoll card, connect the graveyard. And then at the start of the damage step, this card battles a special monster, destroy that monster. It also has the, if it's sent to the graveyard, add a Shaddoll spell trap card from your hand. So it does a lot of good stuff. You can Shaddoll Fusion from your deck, get a bunch of effects. You know, Beast draw a card, Wendy set Shaddoll from your deck, and you can attack their monster. Since special summon, most monsters special summon, you just kill it, and then you're good to go. One main combo you're going to do with this card, though, let's say you Shaddoll Fusion from your hand, like turn 1. You fuse Ecclesia and whatever, like a Shaddoll monster, make Construct. You put Construct in your extra monster dome. You send Shaddoll Schism to the graveyard, and then you link away the Gravity Controller. So that way, Construct, it's the effect. Then when sent to the graveyard, you add a spell trap to the graveyard hand, and you add the Shaddoll Schism you sent off it to your hand. So, in short, turn 1, it searches Shaddoll Schism via sending Schism to the graveyard via its effect, and then linking it off and adding Schism to your hand. And then turn 2, you just play it, attack special monsters, kill them, and then you just broke their board. So very good. Also gives you access to all the Shaddoll cards, so yeah, good. Next is Invoked Duel. Takes Alistair and a fusion monster. Very easy to do. This isn't the first one you play, but like later in the grind games, you'll have fusions engraved because our whole extra deck's mostly fusions. This card is special summoned, or in a monster special summoned in your opponent's field. You can target a monster your opponent controls, destroy it. So when you first summon it, it destroys a card. Then, like later on their turn, when they special summon a monster, you can destroy another monster. It also has a bonus effect. Once per turn, you can banish a fusion monster from your graveyard. This card gains attack equal to the banished monster attack to the end of the opponent's turn. So it doesn't just last one turn, the end of their next turn. So if you banish, like, let's say Shaddoll Construct with it, it's just 4,800 attack. So it's a monster that's just 4,800 attack that blows up a card when summoned and blows up a card on their turn when they special summon. And he's like hard to kill, so he's very good. Easy to go for game with him, he's huge attack. Next is Titanic-clad the Ash Dragon. It's only used for its last effect. So the turn sent to the graveyard at the end phase, you can special summon a Dogmatika monster or add to your hand. So what you do with this card is you do Maximus, send Apcalone, and Titanic-clad. Apcalone searches Schism, and you set it. If you didn't summon Ecclesia this turn, Titanic-clad special summons Ecclesia, and then you search Forward Ellis. You can negate a monster effect on their turn. Or if you already used Ecclesia, you just search the Forward Ellis again. Negate a monster effect on their turn. Basically, just searches a card that negates a monster effect on their turn. So, very good. Next, we have 2 Invoked Makaba. The main invoked monster of the deck. You're going to be summoning this almost every time with the invocation, especially turn 1. Once per turn, when a spell trap card or monster effect activate a quick effect, so your opponent's turn, you can send the same type, monster spell trap, from your hand to the graveyard, negate the activation, and you banishing it. Banishing is actually pretty nice, too, because that stops like graveyard effects and stuff. So you just play this turn 1 with invocation. All you do is Alistair, link into Almirage, link into Secure Gardener, activate the invocation you search, banish the Alistair to Secure Gardener, then you get a free Makaba, then invocation adds the Alistair back to your hand, and you just do this every turn. You run 2 Makaba because if they kill the first Makaba, you can just, since it's a light, you can just use the first Makaba in graveyard with invocation as material for the second Makaba. Next we have Secure Gardener, just a combo with Almirage, so basically Alistair summon Almirage, summon Secure Gardener, puts a link in grave for Maximus. It's a light, you can fuse with it for Construct, or you can just banish it with invocation for Makaba. Next is Gravity Controller. So the reason you play this is turn 1, you Shaddoll Fusion for Construct using a light and a Shaddoll. You send Shaddoll Schism to the graveyard via Construct's effect, and then you link away the Construct for Gravity Controller, and then when Construct's sent to the graveyard, it adds Schism to your hand. So Gravity Controller lets you search Shaddoll Schism turn 1, so then on their turn, you can banish 2 from your graveyard, and then you can summon Winda. So obviously on defense, it's much better to have Winda than Construct. So what it just does is it turns your Construct into a Winda instead. So, very good. Last but not least, your Predaplant Verdant Conde comes up sometimes. Takes 2 effect monsters, and you can pay 2,000 light points, and then set a Fusion or Polymerization Normal or Quick Play spell from the graveyard, and then this effect becomes that effect. So basically what it does is, let's say you don't have a Fusion spell in hand, or like, let's just say you have 2 effect monsters, you can use Shaddoll Fusion from your deck. This is very good, because a lot of times your opponent will have an extra deck monster, and you just play Anaconda, and then you just fuse from your deck via Shaddoll Fusion. Also, Shaddoll Fusion says you can only activate this card once per turn. but this is like changing its name to Shaddoll Fusion. So you can Shaddoll Fusion from your deck, make this, and then Shaddoll Fusion from your deck again, which is very good. So yeah, it gives you access to Shaddoll Fusion and lets you just Shaddoll Fusion whenever you want with just 2 effect monsters. So that's the deck. Let's get into some games. Again, we're Plat 1, the highest rank in the whole game right now. So we're on some pretty tough opponents, and I hope that I can showcase you a lot of the combos with Alistair, Dogmatika, Construct, Schism, stuff like that. So here we go. Let's see how the games play out. All right, Plat versus Plat. Should be a good game. Let's flip the coin. Either way is fine, first or second. We will choose first here. Again, slightly better because we can like win the first turn and shut off their special summons, but going second, we have tons and tons of good follow-up with Shaddoll Fusion in our hand traps. Alright, interesting hand. I like, actually this hand is really good. I like this hand a lot. Alright, so we'll play Alistair here. And see if he's a hand trap. If he does, we have Call by the Grave for it. But we will be searching the invocation. Alright, he has Ash Blossom. Let's just Call by the Grave that. That's fine. Activate Call by the Grave. So since this is in graveyard now, because it discards for cost, we can banish it, then negate the effects, and our Alistair will resolve. We'll search our invocation. Alright. We will now Link Summon. Link Summon for Almirage. Alright. Link Summon for Secure Gardener. And then we can use, this is a light, and this is a Shaddoll to make El Shaddoll Construct. So we'll make Construct. And then, what do we want to do with this Construct? We have a lot of options. I guess we'll put it here. We're most likely just going to link it off. Alright, so we'll do our effects here. We can draw first to see what we want to send, or we can do the opposite order to send first. We don't want to draw the card we were going to send. This is interesting. You can change the chain links up depending on the chain block and stop them from doing certain things, but let's just keep it simple. So to send the graveyard, we'll just send the Shaddoll Schism. Alright, pretty good. Next, since we have a light in the graveyard, because Secure Garden is there now, we'll do Invocation. Invocation will make Makaba. We'll banish Secure Garden and Alistair from Makaba, so now we can negate one of his cards on his turn. Alright, we'll then activate the Invocation, adding the Alistair back to our hand for next turn. Also, we discarded for Makaba to negate monster effects, and I can also buff our fusion monsters in case he's going to try and kill my battle. We can use Gravity Controller here, so our Construct goes to the graveyard, and now we get Schism. Very good. We can use the Nadir Servant. So Nadir Servant usually always searches Ecclesia if you don't have Ecclesia yet. We haven't used App Cologne yet. Titaniclad could also just be pretty good here. Are we going to play Maximus this turn? We could play Maximus this turn. If we play Maximus, though, we wouldn't have 2 cards we want to send. I guess we'd add Shaddoll Fusion back to our hand. Huh. Let's do some spicy stuff. Let's just send App Cologne. Yeah, let's just send App Cologne. So add Ecclesia to our hand. App Cologne effect to search a Shaddoll, and then we can get its effect off. So let's add Wendy. Now let's just discard that same Wendy to get Wendy's effect. Set Shaddoll Hedgehog, because we already used Shaddoll Beast. We can special summon the Ecclesia. This shuts off our extract for the rest of the turn, so we made sure we did everything extract involved first. We do Ecclesia. We'll get Maximus. So normally here, you could just get Punishment, but I just want to style and show you guys like what this deck can really do if we pop off. So banish the Almirage we put in the graveyard, leaving the other fusions in the graveyard as resources later for Invocation. So we'll now activate the Maximus, sending 2 cards from our deck to the graveyard. We can send a Winda, and we can send the Titaniclad. So Winda will add Shaddoll Fusion for our graveyard or our hand. The reason this is really important is we now have a spell in our hand, so we can negate one of the spells with Mikado. And it's free card advantage. It's also nice with Maximus to get intel on what they're playing. Sometimes they will have effects from the extra deck, which is why we could have just searched Punishment instead. But he doesn't. Amulet Dragon. It's like Dark Magicians. Interesting. Alright, so Window will activate. Add Shaddoll into our hand. Now we can negate one of the spells with Makaba. We can then set Infinite Impermanence, and we can set Shaddoll Schism. And end our turn. On the end phase, at 10 and 5, we'll search a Dogmatika card to our hands. We will search Fleur-de-Lis. We don't want to special summon it. We want to keep it in hand. So on their turn, we can negate one of their monster effects. Alright, very good. So we now can negate a spell or trap. We can negate a monster effect, and they can only special once per turn, because we're going to play Winda via Schism. We want to use this in response to a card that special summons, because that way they'll use their one special summon immediately. Alright, so this card, Soul Servant, plays a card on top deck from hand that has Dark Magician in its name. This is a graveyard effect. Banish the graveyard, draw a card equal to the number of Dark Magician you have. It's only use one effect per turn. Do I negate that? I don't think that matters, to be honest. I guess we'll just let that one go. That's fine. If you could use the graveyard effect this turn, then maybe I'd negate it. Because it banishes it, which is really good to get rid of it. So there's definitely a good argument here to negate and banish this, but I'm going to wait for like a true threat. I don't think putting a card on top of his deck is immediately a problem. They have a card called Dark Magician Circle, I believe, which says like, look at the top 3 cards of your deck. And then if Dark Magician card's there, it goes to your hand. So we can negate that. That way he wastes a card to put on top of his deck, but never actually gets it. And in short, it's like a -1 card advantage. This isn't really doing anything. The other one is. I have no idea what that card is. He's in a draw phase. Interesting. That's the card that's really, really good. So we're going to negate that one. This card not only gives him a free Dark Magician card from top of his deck, but it also banishes one of our cards every time a Dark Magician card is played. So let's get rid of that. Now he's down to 3 cards. He's still negate a monster effect. We have follow up with Hedgehog's turn. We gotta end his turn. Okay, so let's just not Schism. Because our board's kind of full here. Let's keep it simple. Ariel. Okay, that's fine. So we'll flip Hedgehog. See what he does. Maybe bait something out here. We could have played around Torrential Tribute, actually, by just playing Maximus. That's fine. And then just setting Entis and destroying one of his back rows. Makaba, we can negate that, but it doesn't really matter. Like, we can get Shaddoll Fusion whenever we want, so it's fine. That's fine. I guess we're just playing it really safe. But I guess technically we should have Maximus first, sending Elder Entity Entis to kill us before we flip Hedgehog to play around Torrential Tribute. That was probably the proper line here. But either way, we'll send Entis here, and we'll send Cologne here. So he sends 2 more cards, actually at the graveyard. He already showed us, it doesn't really matter, like, the monster just graveyard too much, they don't have graveyard effects. We will use Cologne, and we will use Entis. And Entis will target his back rows, we can open them up and go for game. See if he responds. Solemn Strike. So he used that on the Entis and not the Maximus. Very interesting. Either way it was lethal, so it doesn't really matter. Even if he killed us, we had game, so it's fine. But yeah. We can add a Shaddoll Fusion from our hands. And then we can discard the Ariel in our hands. And then get Ariel's effect. This is good if we can banish the Soul Servant, I believe it's called, from his graveyard, because that has a graveyard effect to draw cards. So we'll just banish this. And I guess we'll just banish these fusions in case he somehow uses those. Alright. Special summon Fleur-de-Lis from our hand. And then here we can stack for game. So no need to get any card in the field, because all these cards that are face up are our own. And here, this is like 1,000,000 damage. But just know that even just like this, with Alistair in hand, Fleur-de-Lis and Ecclesia is lethal. So it's 2-card lethal, just Alistair plus Ecclesia. This is very, very achievable if you go for game in one turn. This is a bit overkill, but we're just selling on him. If he has Gore's Emissary Darkness or some kind of like battle card, we can negate with Makaba. Yeah. Alright, GG. Alright, Plat 1 versus Plat 1, both the highest rank in the game. Should be a good game. Let's do the coin flip. Alright, so we're going to choose to go first. This deck's pretty good going second. Tons of hand traps, Shaddoll fusion, but going first is still a bit better to set up Winda, limiting your opponent's special summons. First turn is very good, so we wouldn't choose to go first. Makaba is also good at negating their cards from the first turn, so yeah. Going first is slightly better, but either's fine. Alright, interesting hand. Very interesting hand, actually. So we'll start off by summoning Alistair. Let's see if he has a response to this. Most of the time they will, because you can just make Makaba and negate their hand traps if they don't. Interesting. Alright. So we're going to Link Summon here. We're going to Almirage. After we Almirage, we are going to play Secure Guard. Now, the role of this Almirage is actually perfect here. It's to put a Link engraved for Maximus. So if you draw Maximus or Ecclesia to search Maximus turn 1, you have the ability to summon him. So next we're going to play Invocation, banishing the Secure Garna and the Alistair for Mekaba. So the reason it's important to do this here is now if he has a hand trap, we can just negate it. We can just discard a monster from our hand to negate his hand trap. So if he's like Nibiru or something, it's important to play Makaba first to stop that. We're gonna banish, or sorry, not banish, but put Invocation back into our deck to add Alistair to our hand. Now we have it's just proper to do this first in case you want to discard the Alistair. It doesn't really matter here, but you want to use first action just to make sure you have a discard for the Makaba if they hand trap you. Alright. Next is Maximus. I don't even know if we use Nadir Servant. We actually might save Nadir Servant. Very rare case. We'll see. Not chaining anything. Put some defense. And we'll be using Maximus' effect. Send 2 cards from our extra deck to the graveyard. So here, we'll send App Cologne. And we'll also send the Titanic Lab. Let's see what our opponent sent. This is actually nice too, because we get info in our deck. He's 13 cards in his extra deck. He's doing this to play on the D Dynamite FDK. You get 50 extra cards, you die. If you have 13, you don't die. That's kind of funny. Alright, so let's see what he has. Get some info and see what we want to be doing here. It's also nice to get the info so we can tell when we want to be using our window. He sends Halkafrax and Borreload. Interesting. So that could be a lot of different things. Maybe like dinosaurs or something. So we use Alclone's effect. Search Shaddoll Schism. It's the best card in our deck. And just discard Alistair. Now we have a Dark Engrave to banish for Winda. And then we can just set this. I don't think we're going to do your Servant, because a lot of the time you want to be sending the App Cologne to the graveyard. And we already did that with Maximus. So we'll just end, and we can send Intis to the graveyard this next turn. So end phase, we'll use Titaniclad. So Titaniclad, since we don't have Ecclesia yet, we will special summon Ecclesia. And then we'll use Ecclesia's effect. And we will search for Dallas to negate a monster in their turn. So pretty good. We have Winda, Makaba, and a monster negate, and another monster negate. We also could have done stuff with Nadir Servant, like Applone could have searched Shaddoll Fusion, sent it to the graveyard, and then we could Nadir Servant and do like a combo to get like it all back to our hand. But I think it's better just to hold this, and that's fine. I think it's better just to hold this and do an next turn for Intis. So he just does a scale. This counts as a spell card in this zone. We're not going to stop it. All we're going to do here is just when he has a scale set to where he can Pendulum Summon, we're going to Shaddoll Schism for Winda. Your opponent cannot target spellcaster type monsters you control spell. Cards or effects, face up Magician, leaves your monster zone, add one to your hand. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, right when he sets his scales, we can actually do the links will be good. Yeah, I actually could negate this, but I think the Nadir Servant's way too good, so we don't want to get rid of that. This is in the Pendulum Scale zone, so it does count as a spell effect. So pretty good. We have 3 monster effect negations, and you can only special summon once per turn. Alright, so that searches the card. That's fine. One other really good thing in this deck is when you summon the Winda, you have Alistair in hand a lot of the time, which can buff a fusion monster's attack and defense by 1,000. So then this Winda we're going to play can't be destroyed by card effects. but it also has 3,200 attack, which makes it very, very hard to clear. So we'll banish this, and we will summon the Winda. So I keep that Tanified in the graveyard, so we have a fusion in our graveyard. So if I want to summon a Guadius next turn, we can. This should be pretty hard for him to win after we have the Winda here. We still have 3 monster effect negations. We can buff our guys by 1,000. So we're going to negate that, just because like we have so many negations. I guess here, it would be nice just to banish that, because it's a Pendulum monster, so when these die, they go to the face of the extra deck. I think it'd be good to banish that. So I can't target it. So this doesn't even target. Valor I couldn't actually do here, because I can't target those monsters. Maybe I just use this and discard the Valor we can't use. We'll keep Alistair because it's follow-up for next turn. And we can just kill him with the Guadius. So, alright. This is banish. He has 3 cards remaining, and only 1 special summon is allowed. This can negate an effect, and it doesn't target. Oh god. Add a Pendulum monster or Spell Trap to protect your hand. That's pretty good. You can search Time Pendulograph. Pendulum Call, interesting. Time Pendulograph is a trap they have that can destroy a card on my turn, but we can play through that anyway, so it's not a big deal. Alright, that's fine. Again, still 1 such summon, still have another monster gate, and tons of follow-up for next turn. Alright, that's fine. These are summoned at the same time, so it counts as just 1 special summon. This one's an effect, right? This card destroy a battle or card effect. Target a facing card that feels destroyed. Interesting. Very interesting. So maybe I could have held off on using Macabre for that. Maybe it was proper to just use Fortalice and negate the Joker. The reason I got rid of the Joker is in case he killed Winda somehow, then he would have less access to monsters in the field to like link with and do link combos like heavy metal foes, Electromite. I think that either could have been fine though, Macabre or Floridelis. So, in a good spot here. Can't use his extra deck. I mean, I guess he could crash with that. He might just surrender here. We have the Year Servant next turn. We can summon Alistair next turn and make a Guadius. That's very strong. He's pretty much definitely dead next turn. I think even if he searched the trap card, we'd still kill him next turn. And if they don't clear Maximus, you can use him again. That's a really good perk of Maximus. We can like... Yeah, okay, we win. We can like just send Entis off him, hold a Dear Servant, all kinds of stuff. Alright, GG. Alright, that's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed the deck. So strong, so easily locking your opponent out, going for game, and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So if you guys like Shaddoll's Invoked Dogmatika, make sure that you give a like and subscribe. Also, tons and tons of more videos this week, or just coming in the future of meta decks. So make sure that you like, subscribe to those as well. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.